Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Point of Purchase. My name is Trisha Williams, and I'm the managing partner and client success leader here at Geekspeak Commerce. It's great to have you join us. And it's a special episode because it's our very first time streaming live on LinkedIn. So I just want to welcome everyone from LinkedIn. Hi, LinkedIn friends. And of course, hello to everyone who's tuning in from YouTube or Facebook. If you get a sec, please drop us a line in the comments field on any of those platforms. Let us know which city or town you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, as usual, if you have any questions throughout the show, please put them in the comments field. We'll do our best to get to them near the end. So for those of you who are new to Point of Purchase, I should probably give you a bit of a background. Point of Purchase is a live web series presented by Geekspeak Commerce. And in each episode, we dive into topics surrounding the retail and e-commerce ecosystems. Everything from industry news to technology, best practices, business strategies, and more. So we draw on our own experiences as an e-commerce services provider, but we also reach out to guests in our network so that they can come in and share some of their knowledge and expertise. And today, I am super excited to talk to our guest and dig into our topic today, which is Built by Women, Redefining Leadership in Retail. And this topic means a lot to me, both as a woman in a leadership role in the e-com industry, but also as the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee at our local Chamber of Commerce here in Whitby. So I'm thrilled to have an amazing guest joining us today who has a wealth of knowledge in this space, Melissa Campanelli. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Great. Nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Yeah, you bet. I appreciate you making the time. So, Melissa, I'm going to read your bio here. I want to make sure I get it right. So, Melissa Campanelli is the co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, a unique members-only networking group that offers enterprise-level women in the retail industry a place to learn, connect, and grow. She's also the brand and content director of the retail and travel group at NAPCO Media. And Melissa is also an author of 2 books, Open an Online Business in 10 Days, and 55 surefire internet businesses you can start for under $5,000. So Melissa, that's quite a bio. Help me break it down for our audience. Give us a bit more detail in terms of your background and how you landed in your current role.
Sure. Thank you again, Trisha. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be on this great program. And I just think you're doing such great content for all those businesses out there that you work with and that that are out there. I basically have my background is in journalism. I've worked in journalism since I graduated, so I've always been in either trade journalism or business journalism, and I spent a long time at DM News, which was a trade publication focusing on the direct marketing industry, and I shifted to covering e-commerce. And I ended up at a company called NAPCO Media, where I was the editor of a publication called Total Retail. And it is a great publication. It's still around. But while I was there, I realized that there was not a lot of senior level women at a lot of the events that we would go to, or whenever we would call somebody to do an interview and we'd be looking for a VP or an SVP to speak with. There was always men. So my publisher and I at the time, who is now my co-founder, thought, this is a little sort of interesting and unusual, so let's sort of do something about it. So we did a little research. We realized that there was a lot of white space out there. There was some white space out there, and that there were not a lot of groups for senior level women to network with each other and ultimately improve and grow in their positions. So we took sort of a risk. My company, NAPCO Media, was great because they allowed us to do it, and we started a group, and it's been going really, really great. It's been going really well. It's now sort of one of the leaders at the company, NAPCO Media, in terms of number of members and all that good stuff. And we're just really excited about it.
That's awesome. Kudos to you and Jennifer for coming together to create this space. It's interesting, you were attending all these conferences and just saw a need and essentially filled it, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was one of our partners is a company called or a trade show called Shop Talk, and in 2020 they were planning to do an event that was purely women speaking at the huge event in Las Vegas. It was going to be all women, every single panel. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it wasn't able to go on. But we felt really excited about that. We were partnering with them and helping them with speakers, and it is exciting because women should be out there representing the retail industry. I mean, women, I believe, I double checked the statistic. I mean, they're either responsible directly or influencing 85% of all purchases. So they should be leading companies that
Absolutely.
buying from. So,
I mean, it just makes sense, right? All right, so I'm just going to dive in here, Melissa. Our topic, as you know, is Built by Women, Redefining Leadership in Retail. So what does redefining leadership mean to you? And what does that specifically look like in the world of retail?
Yeah, I mean, I thought a lot about this question. I think COVID really has spearheaded a new type of leadership in the retail space, or has has forced the industry to sort of redefine what leadership is. I think the industry was hard hit. In some ways, it is still hard hit. Many employees specifically were hard hit. So I think in many cases, leaders had to change their philosophy and put people first. Many of them, I don't want to say that they haven't already done that, but I think there's been a heightened sensitivity to it. They're leading with empathy, honesty, transparency. I mean, it's a daunting task to have to be able to uphold workforce morale at a time when employees are so worried about, their jobs, but also like their families and their physical well-being. So, I just feel like it's sort of ushered in a new way of leading. And I also think they had to learn to become very nimble and be able to sort of make decisions when they don't really know what's going on around them. So we have a lot of calls with our members, and we chat about a lot of different issues. And I think, that is one of the biggest, that they have to sort of make decisions under uncertainty.
Absolutely. I think the pandemic definitely tested everyone's mettle, right? I mean, our leadership skill sets were really stretched, and it forced us to think creatively, be able to pivot, switch on a dime very quickly as conditions changed. Sometimes, week to week, how do you actually ensure that your retail stores are, staffed and ready to go to serve the public, or even online, dealing with supply chain issues and so on. So it really did force leaders to, be creative and really lean on those skills that they have. And you're right. I mean, it's been up and down for sure. And I think everybody's had those moments where it's been truly challenging, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's probably for all industries, I should say, but in retail and you said e-commerce specifically, with the supply chain issues and the staffing, it's a lot. I've heard the term the Great Resignation a lot. I mean, it's a lot to deal with.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about Women in Retail Leadership Circle. Your organization was founded by yourself and Jennifer, your co-founder, back in 2014. What sort of changes or evolutions have you seen in the industry since then, when you were attending those conferences and seeing those gaps? What's changed?
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of thinking about this question as well, and I feel like it's twofold. I think in one way, the industry has changed just by nature. And you can see it in our membership. I mean, there's more and more members who are from like D2C companies, or they have digital or omni-channel titles, versus like the traditional merchandising planning titles that you see a lot in retail. So I feel like, the membership is mirroring what's going on in the industry. And then I also think that there are more women in leadership roles. I don't have any statistics on it, but I just know, like anecdotally, based on stuff I've read, and also just based on looking at our members, there's more women in like SVP and C-suite roles than when we first started. I'm not going to say that it's because of our group and because we were able to, help them, but I do think that there is more. I do think that there's more. It's encouraging to see that there's more women in these roles.
Absolutely. So, speaking of your membership, you've got a pretty exclusive community of women executives who are part of your membership. These are executives at major retailers and brands. What do you think draws these highly successful women to becoming members of your organization?
It's number one, the networking opportunities. And I think it's the ability for these women to network with each other in sort of a exclusive or closed environment where they know that they're not being judged or that they're being marketed to, or it's just basically it's lonely at the top, for a lot of these women, and they don't have places to share. I mean, we hear this all the time, especially like newly minted CEOs. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know who they can share issues that they're having. They can't ask their staff. They have to kind of go outside of it. So that's what we've been hearing over and over again. It's just the ability to network with other women, to learn from other women who are all in retail, but oftentimes in different verticals. So it's interesting to hear like somebody from like a traditional general merchandise retailer like Walmart wanting to hear about like what's going on in the fashion space. So they love to like share. We obviously have a great event that we're going to talk about later that they love to come to. And we have a newsletter. I mean, we have a bunch of stuff, a bunch of content for them. But I feel like it's really just the networking. And especially during COVID, I feel like these women really needed a place to vent. And what we did was we created peer group calls every month. We were doing them every other week, where we organized them by function. So we had like a CEO group, a CMO group, we had an e-commerce group, and it was just members, and just kind of, we had a moderator, but just, it was very loose conversations, but it was great because they really got to share. And it was exciting to see them kind of working out problems together and like coming up with solutions and sharing, texting on the chat, oh, try this software company or whatever. So it was rewarding, and I felt like I was helping a lot. It was great.
Yeah,
I mean, it was COVID, but it still was great to see them working together.
Right, absolutely. And you know what? I think it sounds like it's like a safe space.
Yes.
Right? Where you can feel free to voice concerns, talk about challenges, ask questions. So it sounds like a fantastic place to get information, get honest opinions and takes on things. So it definitely sounds like a safe space to me.
Yeah, I love that expression, safe space. That's definitely what it is.
Cool. So let's talk about the women who perhaps aren't necessarily at the pinnacle of their career just yet. And those of us, or those are the women who are still climbing that corporate ladder, so to speak, still on the come up. What are some of the things that your organization does to help foster, their growth?
Yes, this is a great question. And we are, let me put a caveat here that we are thinking about maybe in 2022, putting together like a formal mentorship program where our members can be matched with maybe a director or manager who they are working with that they'd like to help develop. But we haven't gotten there yet. It's a lot of work on the back end for a small staff. But what we did do this year was we launched a new program called Women on the Rise. And it's where senior level women nominate an up and comer from their company or that they worked with. And we give them the opportunity to join the group and also to attend our summit. And it gives them the opportunity to network with fantastic accomplished women and find mentors who can help them in their careers. And so, I feel like that's going to be kind of our entree into that area, and hopefully the mentorship program. But I mean, we also regularly feature content in our newsletter called The Inner Circle that goes out to a wider audience than just our members. and the content, we cover everything from, professional development. We have we have relationships with great coaches that provide content for us. We, do a lot on negotiation skills, and it's more of content for them, but it's still, I feel like I'm sure it's helpful to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mentorship is just so powerful and such an important strategy to help women who are trying to make that rise in their career. So I'd love to see that take shape for you guys over at your organization. So I can think of a few reasons, but I'd love to hear your perspective on this one. So why is investing in women a good business practice? Why is it good for business? What sort of outcomes can a business see by investing in inclusive leadership?
Yeah, I wholeheartely believe in this. And I did find a report from McKinsey that I've quoted before. And that is that the most diverse companies outperform less diverse companies. It's like a fact. I'm going to actually read the statistics. Companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on executive teams are 25% more likely to have above average profitability than those that they're in a lesser quartile. And I just think it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, the more diverse companies, I feel like, are better able to win top talent. They have a better handle on their customers because their customers are likely diverse. They have great numbers around employee and customer satisfaction. It all leads to, increasing returns.
And you know what? I'll back you up on that one too, because our team at GeekSpeak is really diverse, and we kind of call that our superpower. We have people on our team from all over the world, and it's just amazing and so rewarding to get so many different perspectives on things. Issues that are big and small. It's just amazing to see the different takes on anything that we're working with. And I think it shines through in the quality of the work, as you were, alluding to. It comes across in the work for sure. So speaking on that, we've seen a lot of shifts as of late when it comes to social consciousness, right? And thankfully, more companies are focusing and prioritizing diversity, equity, and inclusion within their organization. How has this shift impacted your group? I mean, you founded the organization back in 2014, which is fantastic. A lot's changed since then, especially over the last 18 months. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to answer this question in twofold, because Women in Retail Leadership is part of a company called NAPCO Media, and we've done a lot at NAPCO Media, and we've also done a lot at Women in Retail. So for NAPCO, we internally have assembled a diversity, equity, inclusion committee, and the mission of it, and it's great. It's spearheaded by an employee, but it's got a lot of involvement from all divisions, and at the top, presidents of divisions are involved. And the mission is to develop and retain a diverse, inclusive workforce where all employees feel that they're respected and treated fairly. And they laid out very specific initiatives, including, since we're sort of a publishing company, it involved making sure that we have a diverse group of people that are contributors to our publication or suppliers, and also employees themselves. And so there's it's very organized. Like there's subcommittees based on these different initiatives, and they're sort of tasked with finding ways to make these initiatives happen. It's really exciting. So that's sort of NAPCO. But then Women in Retail, we actually a couple of years ago now created a position, Director of Diversity and Inclusion, for our group, and that person is always on our board. And right now, the person's name is Jasmine Bellamy, and she's fantastic. She's a VP at Reebok, and she works with us on all initiatives. including, including helping to have a diverse membership, including making sure that we have diverse content providers for our newsletter, and then of course our speakers at our summits and all of our live events. And we just feel like it's really important. We put a lot of effort into it. And if you look at our website, you can see that we do have quite a diverse group.
Yeah, absolutely. I was taken by that, as I mentioned to you when we were chatting earlier. It's great to see such a diverse collection of women in this organization, and you could see that from your board. You could see that from the speakers who are at your various events. So that's really exciting. So it sounds like the work that you're doing on that committee is paying off for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we make sure that the women are speaking on the panels where they're best suited. They're not just speaking on, say, the diversity panel. They're speaking on the panels where they're best suited. So that's really important to us.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about e-commerce next. So due to COVID-19, we've obviously seen accelerated growth and a shift to e-commerce from companies and categories that were traditionally only brick and mortar. What categories have surprised you the most during this shift? The categories that have really taken off that perhaps people really didn't think were a good fit for e-com in the past?
Well, first of all, yes, I do have to say that what I found is that the companies that have fared well during this have been the ones that have already sort of had or on the way. If they already weren't digital first, the ones that were already going in that direction, they sort of just sped up their plans, and they ended up being the most successful ones. It's the ones that were a little bit behind that were falling back. One thing I did notice that I thought was surprising is the growth in small businesses. I read somewhere that I think it was the Census Bureau, more than 4.4 million new businesses were created during 2020, which is the highest on record for small businesses in a year. Obviously, that's probably because of layoffs and furloughs, and that's what drove small businesses. But I just thought that was interesting, considering there were so many sad stories about what was going on during COVID. But in terms of categories in e-commerce, the pet industry has really gone crazy. I mean, everyone has a pandemic puppy. And as a result, I think Chewy is one of the retailers or e-commerce companies that is went gangbusters during COVID. And it's surprising because when you think about, I'm aging myself, but when you think about the old days of pets.com, when those companies never did well because of having to, they had problems shipping large bags of dog food and stuff. So, or kitty litter. So I think the pets is a big area. All the usual suspects though, athletic apparel or yoga pants, anything with stretch material did really well. Toys and games did really well during the pandemic. So I'm not sure if that's surprising. What was surprising to me was the growth in small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pick up on a couple of those points for sure. So the pet thing was huge. And I don't know if anybody could have forecasted the fact that people would be looking for pandemic puppies or cats. And it's actually not hilarious, but it's interesting to note that, our local humane society here, they had to cap their waiting list at 10,000 people. So there were no pets to be adopted. They got scooped up during the pandemic, which was great to see, all of these, animals, finding a home. But I'm not sure anybody could have predicted that, and now with e-com too, it's definitely a category that's growing immensely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So to your point earlier about the growth of small businesses, early in the pandemic, we saw that at our business as well. A lot of people who, like you said, were sort of, late to the game were suddenly trying to get on board very quickly, right? So there was a mad scramble to improve their online presence, or, companies that didn't have an online presence at all were scrambling to put a website up that was e-commerce enabled. So yeah, the growth of small businesses was huge. And that's actually a good segue into my next question, because you literally wrote a book called 55 Surefire Internet Businesses You Can Start for Under $5,000. So I'm guessing that book sales may have picked up during the pandemic. And so for those of us in the industry, we know that you can see a lot of success in e-commerce, but it's not always as easy as it looks. So just want to ask you, what's the most important advice you give to budding entrepreneurs as they start their journey?
Yeah, so I just want to put a caveat there. I did write that a while ago, but when I did write it, it was when I was working for Entrepreneur Magazine. It was, by the way, I did do a stint there as well. I didn't mention that earlier, but yeah, so things have changed quite a bit since then, but I do still, cover this topic a lot in my role at Total Retail, and then just dealing with all the women that I deal with that are in the e-commerce business. So to me, this is not going to sound like a fun or sexy answer, but I think from all the people that I've interviewed throughout my years, the most important thing is to be really practical about it, to have a business plan, to make sure you're financing, all your ducks are in a row before you start something. Just, you have to be really clear about, like, knowing who your competition is very important. I think it's easy to get excited about, a product that you came up with, or, something that you've invented, or an idea that you come up with that's something different that no one's ever done before, and you might want to rush to get it out there because you don't want someone else to get the idea, or to take your idea. But it's really important to be slow and steady. Slow and steady is what wins the race, unfortunately, for entrepreneurs, from what I've found from all the people that I've interviewed.
Absolutely. It always comes back to being practical, right? It's never that sexy idea, as you mentioned. It's actually having a legitimate plan. And you're right. Take it slow and steady as you get your footing.
Right. Exactly. Do your research. It's amazing, how many people don't know their full competitive, their competitive view of what they're launching. They don't know who their main competitors would be. I mean, it's very important to do your research.
So what retail trends are you seeing that you're excited about these days?
Well, I think, obviously we've talked about this already, but digital, I think there's going to be so much more on that front that we don't even know about going forward. I mean, there's so much going on with, like, AI and kind of cool technologies, augmented reality. I just think that that's, like, a really exciting area. I think another not sexy thing is, like, the idea of pickup in store or BOPIS, curbside pickup options. I think those are going to become the norm. I think stores are going to be created in such a way that, they're going to be created as a place for people to go to pick up their merchandise, as opposed to being something else, like a fulfillment center almost. But I think that's exciting. I think that's a great use of real estate. I think personalization is going to get even more, detailed, and content tailored to individuals is going to be a lot more robust and specific. And then something that I'm really interested in is live stream shopping. I think that's a really interesting area. It keeps popping up, like, every time I speak to someone. And it was really big during the Alibaba days. The Alibaba, I'm forgetting what they're called, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, AliExpress, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, where one of the it's sort of retailers or like this virtual approach to engage consumers. So I'm very interested in that.
Absolutely, it is definitely growing in popularity. Very popular in China.
Yeah.
And Amazon Live is growing leaps and bounds every day as well. So
yeah,
it's definitely a trend to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I do want to take a moment just to remind everybody that you can enter your questions if you have anything for myself or Melissa in the comments field. We'd love to take those up before the end of the session here today, which we're getting close to. And I do notice we do have one question that's popped up. and it's coming to us from Facebook. So this question's for you, Melissa. Do you have any success stories you could share from within your membership?
Oh, sure, definitely. One thing that I really love about our Women in Retail group is all, as I said earlier, all the networking and the connections that are made. And I have two great stories, actually. One is a friend of a friend attended the event, and she owns a company called T. Giselle, which makes really pretty sort of bracelets and stackable bracelets. And she had a pop-up shop at one of our events, and it was really, it was great. It was a great product. It was sustainable. And I was literally like flipping through the channels one evening, and I noticed that she was on QVC. And I was like, whoa, this woman's on QVC. She was just at our conference a couple of years ago. And we did a little research, and it found out that she did meet somebody at our conference who was with QVC, and ended up starting a great relationship with her. So I just think that's such a great example of the kind of networking that goes on here, at this high level kind of networking. And then another company called the Grommet, the founder was at our company, and she met somebody from Ace Hardware, and Ace Hardware ended up purchasing the small business that she owned, the Grommet. So I just think those are kind of cool little tidbits into how our group works.
Absolutely. You get a collection of the right people in one space. It's amazing what's possible, right?
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So I know that you're planning a big event coming up in October. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about your summit?
I would love to. Yes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. We are thrilled to be presenting our 8th, I believe, Women in Retail Leadership Summit. It is taking place in Miami at the Turnberry Resort. I could, if anyone's interested, you can reach me. I'm sure we can communicate that later. But we have great speakers. We have great networking. We have great activations. We're going to have a lot of pop-up shops. Our theme this year is holistic leadership, because we believe that the most important thing for leaders today is to come and present themselves as the whole person that they are, which means, making sure that they are healthy mentally, physically, and and which is most important to lead your teams. So we have a wellness pavilion. We were talking earlier, Trisha was calling it almost like a retreat feeling. And then we also have some great speakers. So for instance, we have the CEO of Chico's is speaking, the CEO of Lilly Pulitzer, the CEO of Vitamin Shop. They're going to be speaking about everything from leading in the new normal to, being a whole leader and leading with your from within. We have another great speaker named Susie Batiste, who's the founder of a company called Puri, which a lot of people know. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. So if you have any questions, I think the website's on this website. It's called womeninretailsummit.com.
Fantastic. And I think you guys took a break last year due to the pandemic. So this time around, it's really exciting. It's going to be in October. It's usually in April, but it's great to see that, some things are coming back to normal, at least, just given what we've been through.
Yeah, and we're taking all the proper precautions, but it's not a huge event. We're expecting about 500 people, so it's going to be great.
Awesome. So we're nearing the end of this session here, Melissa, and we like to wrap things up with a bit of a fun question, and it's going back to e-commerce. So, what was the last item you purchased online from a woman-led retailer? A little twist to it today.
I love this question because I actually have a great product that I purchased, and it's a bathing suit from a company called Somersault. Have you heard of that company, Trisha?
I have. Yeah, great brand.
Great brand, sustainable brand, fits any size, great marketing. Just really, I love it. I actually don't mind putting on a bathing suit anymore.
That's awesome. Good stuff.
So I would definitely recommend it. Somersault.com.
Awesome. Well, listen, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for making the time to chat with us today. Really appreciate it. I do want to give you the opportunity to let our audience know how they can connect with you. If you want to share your social handles, your website.
Sure, definitely. So you can reach out to me at Campanelli, which is my Twitter handle. You can also find me on LinkedIn with my name, Melissa Campanelli. And you can reach our website. We did talk about the summit site, which is Women in Retail Summit, but you can also reach our circle or our association site, and that's womeninretail.com. And we also have, you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. So happy to be here. Tricia, thank you so much for your great questions. And hopefully everyone enjoyed it.
You bet. We'll be in touch, I'm sure. I appreciate your time once again. And everybody, if you're interested in learning more about GeekSpeak Commerce, please check us out on our website, geekspeakcommerce.com. You can also have a look at us on social media. And of course, keep an eye out for our next episode of Point of Purchase. We'll advertise those on our social channels as well. Thank you again, Melissa, and have a great rest of your day, everyone. We'll be in touch very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.